Have you ever felt overlooked? Like no matter what you did, someone else was the favorite, the more talented, the more blessed. Have you ever simmered with a quiet jealousy, or felt a rivalry so personal it seemed to define a relationship? If so, you're in the oldest story in the book. Literally, long before office politics or social media comparisons, there was the original rivalry, sibling versus sibling. We often read these ancient dramas, but they are blueprints of the human heart. They revealed that our first battlefield is often the living room. Our first opponents share our last name, and the spiritual victory we seek in our lives begins with how we navigate the legacy of that rivalry. Today, we're not just talking about making peace with your brother or sister. We're talking about how that very struggle, the feelings of injustice, the competition, the longing for approval is your sacred training ground, your path from sibling rivalry to spiritual victory. Let's start by naming the wounds, because you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. First is the comparison trap. From the moment we're born, we're measured against someone else. Why can't you be more like your sister? Your brother never gave us this trouble. We internalize a scoreboard we never agreed to, and our worth becomes tied to someone else's performance. Spiritually, this distorts our vision. We stop believing God has favorites, that his blessings are a finite pie, and if my sibling gets a big piece, mine must be smaller. The rivalry moves from our family to the heavens. The second wound is the identity struggle. The story of Jacob is a perfect example. His name means hill grabber or supplanter, and he lived down to that name, fighting his whole life for what wasn't his. Many of us craft our identity in reaction to a sibling. We become the wild one, the perfect one, the rebel, or the reliable one. We build a persona based on a role we played to survive, to get attention, to carve out a space that was just ours. But that's a prison. Spiritual victory can't be found in a costume you wore to win a childhood battle. And the third wound is the poison of resentment. This is the territory of Cain and Abel. Resentment isn't just anger. It's fermented injustice. It's the constant question. Why was their offering accepted? Why did they get the blessing, the talent, the spouse, the break? But resentment doesn't hurt the other person. It consumes us. It builds an altar to a false god called fairness, and we sacrifice our joy, our peace, and our future on it. This is the battlefield. It probably feels familiar, doesn't it? The old triggers at family gatherings, the automatic defensiveness, the silent, exhausting math of who got more. But what if I told you this isn't your prison? It's your proving ground. Spiritual victory is not the absence of the struggle. It's the transformation of it. So how do we turn this rivalry into our runway? The first step is to reframe the narrative from why them to what for. Stop asking the dead-end question. Why did they get what I deserved? Start asking the empowering, God-directed question. What is this experience preparing me for? Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, a betrayal born of rivalry. Yet, decades later, Joseph declares, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." He reframed his entire story. The rivalry wasn't the end. It was the bizarre, painful path to his purpose of saving nations. Your feelings of being overlooked, underestimated, or competing have forged in you a resilience, an empathy, a specific strength that is uniquely yours. Your Egypt is training you for your palace. Step 2 is to break the cycle by blessing. The moment of supreme spiritual victory in these sibling stories is often the moment of blessing. After wrestling with God in his past, Jacob limps back to meet Esau. He's terrified. He expects the old rivalry, the vengeance. But instead, he bows, and Esau runs to embrace him. The breakthrough came when Jacob stopped trying to win and chose to honor. Your spiritual victory might look like this: being the first to say, "I'm proud of you," celebrating your sibling's success without any conditions, refusing to engage in the old gossip. You break the demonic cycle of comparison by initiating a divine cycle of blessing. You disarm the entire battle. Finally, step 3 is to claim your own blessing. So many of us are waiting for a blessing from an earthly parent, a system, or a past that may never come. The real spiritual victory is realizing that God has a blessing with your name on it, not your sibling's name, yours. Jacob had to wrestle with God and say, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." He wasn't stealing Esau's blessing anymore. He was demanding his own. You must do the same. Go to the source. Say, God, show me who I am, apart from any comparison. Show me the purpose you wired into me. His blessing for you is not in your sibling's shadow. It's in the light of his unique plan for your life. So, where do you stand today? Are you still on that old battlefield, digging trenches in childhood wounds, holding grudges written in yearbook ink? The armor you've worn there is heavy, isn't it? The armor of defensiveness, of overachieving to prove a point, of shrinking so you don't threaten anyone. It's time to take off that old armor and put on a new mantle. Your spiritual victory awaits you in the most unlikely place, in making peace with that story. Not necessarily even with the person first, but with the story itself. See it as your training, not your tragedy. From this day forward, see your past not as a chain that binds you, but as the fire that forged you, the rejection that taught you compassion, the competition that sharpened your gifts, the injustice that made you hunger for true righteousness. You are not a supporting character in someone else's story. You are the lead in your own divine epic. And the very rivalry that felt like it would break you is the setup for your greatest breakthrough. Walk off the old battlefield. Stop fighting the ghost of a war that's over. Your spiritual victory, a life of identity, freedom, and purpose, doesn't require that your sibling loses. It simply requires that you decide to win on a whole different plane. Go, reframe your past. Bless without fear. Claim your unique calling, and step into the victory that has been waiting for you since before you were born. From sibling rivalry to spiritual victory, your story is just beginning. Thanks for watching.